Hi, if this is your first time here, welcome to my channel. Or if you're like me and you've been here before, welcome back. I'm Chaotic Curl. In today's video, I actually have something that I want to show you guys. I was able to get one of those Centro knitting machines. So we're actually going to be doing a really quick project. This is going to be my first project on the machine. I literally just got it yesterday. I'm super excited. I have so many plans on things I can make with it, but we're going to start off with making the simplest thing I can think of. We're going to be making a beanie. I know I could be making a scarf, but I'd rather do the beanie just so that I can see how it works in the round. So that's actually what we're going to be doing in today's video. And I'm going to be showing you guys all the yarn, the materials, and everything that we're going to be using. But of course, I'm going to be showing you the machine, which I'm super excited about. It's the first time I've ever used anything like this. It does feel a little bit like a toy, but I'm so really excited. With everything I've seen on YouTube about other people making and the things that they've been able to make with it, I'm hoping I'll at least be able to make this beanie and then maybe a dress. So we'll see if we can do that in today's video as well. But let me get the material so that I can show you the yarn we'll be using to make that beanie. I'll be right back. Hi, so the yarn that we're going to be using in today's project is actually 100% acrylic. It is from Lion brand, and I'm very nervous to be using it, but I'm going to give it another try just to see if maybe the yarn that I was previously using was just really old. But it's the Mandala Ombre in this very pretty color. The label says the color is cheap, but here are the details for the yarn. It is a 4 worsted weight. It's not showing you, but it's a 4 worsted weight for crochet hooks. It takes a 5.5 millimeter, and for knitting needles, it's a 4.5. And that's actually what the ombre pattern should look like. But like I said, we're making it into a beanie, so it's going to be more of a tube. So we'll see how that turns out, but this is the yarn that I'm going to be using in today's project, or for the beanie. And if we do have the chance to make the dress in today's video as well, which I'm hoping we will, depending on how fast this is and how quickly I can catch on to the process. But if we are able to make that dress, then I'll show you that yarn that we're going to use for that. It is a different yarn, but this is the yarn that we're going to be starting off with. So let's get started.
Here is the machine. Currently it's on the floor, but here you can see the tensioner where the yarn will go through. There's the switch for the tube or panel, currently set to tube for this beanie. This is the stitch counter, which let me show you from the top. It's a better view. The stitch counter, again, from the top you can see the little numbers as well as the button to reset the count. Then I have the yarn feeder, and as you can see, the 48 pins. I'm very happy with the size of the machine, but there is that 48th pin marked with the white pin. So I'm actually going to reset the machine up to that pin in front of the tensioner just so that I can get started with casting on, make it a little bit easier if I'm already there. So I'm going to put my slip stitch through that one, and I'm actually going to adjust just so that I can get casted on. So give me a second. Okay, I'm ready to cast on, but I'm actually going to be using some waste yarn at the beginning of this just so that I can keep the ends looking good and so that I'm not risking dropping anything. But I'm getting ready to get started, so I'm just going to loop the slip stitch around that little hook that you can see on the white pin, and we'll be able to get started with casting on from there. I am also making sure to leave a pretty long tail like the instructions suggest, even though I'm still putting in that slip stitch or that slip knot, but making sure it's nice and tight. And now to cast on, we're actually going to cast on to every other pin. So as you'll see, I'm going to skip the first pin, and then on the second pin I'm going to make sure that the hook catches the yarn, and we'll continue like that every other pin. So as you can see here, we're going to skip that first one and then hook the yarn onto that next one. Then I'm just going to continue the same way, skipping one and hooking onto the next one. So we made it back to the white pin. What I'm going to do now is actually loop my yarn through the tensioner. So I'm going to go through the second and third hole, not the first one since it's too tight, the second and the third. So I'm just going to put the yarn through obviously the yarn holder, and go through the tensioner, that second and third hole, just like that. And then you have to make sure that the white hook catches the yarn, so that way you know everything is good. And then from here I can just crank the knob and keep going. So what I'm actually going to do is do 10 rows of the waste yarn, and so I'll be back once I have those 10 rows, and we can continue with the color the beanie is going to be. So we're now at the 10 rows, so I'm going to actually add the yarn, the Chi color that we're going to be using for this project. Again, I'm going to be doing a slip knot around that white peg, and what I'll do is just slip the knot through the white peg and then crank the machine like normal. So with the waste yarn being there, it should make it so that way everything holds on and all the stitches get stitched. And once I remove the waste yarn, the stitches will be basically open so that I can, you know, sew into them, or if I wanted to, I could actually add some knitting needles and continue knitting from there. But this is what it looks like. I just finished looping it through the white hook, so now I'm going to put it on my threader and my tensioner just so that everything is at the same tension as the waste yarn. I don't want to lose this tension, and I can just start cranking from there. I don't know when, but I seem to have dropped a stitch, so I'm gonna have to start over again. I'm just going to cast off the project and cast back on with the waste yarn and go back to the 10 rows until I'm back to where I started. And we're back, like it never even happened. Look at that beautiful rows all there. No stitches dropped. Thankfully I was able to make sure no stitches got dropped this time, but we're at 16 rows, so let's keep going. Okay, I didn't forget about you guys. I did add the waste yarn onto the project after I finished the yarn ball, as you can see. So I did that a couple of rows ago, but this waste yarn at the top and as you can see at the bottom of the tube is actually going to help me keep track of the stitches, like I said. So it makes it a little bit easier to sew everything together at the end, as well as to keep everything looking neat and nice. So right now I'm actually getting ready to cast off so that we can sew together the ends of this beanie and make a beanie. And as you can see, to cast off, I basically just let the yarn finish, and then we just do one more round until everything starts to come off of the pins. So as you can see there, it's already starting to come off, and there we go. It's been casted off. And here is our almost beanie. It's looking amazing. I really do love this colorway, and as you can see, the waist yarn is at the bottom of the tube as well as at the top. So what I'm just going to do now is actually tuck it in until both waist yarns are up against each other, and then I'm going to sew around the top so that way I can have a full tube. So from here, as you can see, I'm just going to sew the two purple ends together so that way I can get rid of that pinky waist yarn and have a beautiful beanie. Now I'm getting ready to sew, and like I've been saying over and over again, I'm going to be going up through the waist yarn where the waist yarn and the new yarn meet and just stitching the stitches in between that are in that first row of purple. So that's what you see me doing now, and I'm just doing a simple loop stitch just to go through it all so that I can pull it all together in the end and bunch the top of the beanie. And surprise, now for the hardest part of the whole project. I didn't think it was going to be this hard, but I actually did really struggle to get this waist yarn off. I did get it off in the end, but it was hard. Like, it was a real struggle. And there, actually on the corner, you can see my mom's cat, Eugene, looking super cute, keeping me company. But I'm just struggling to get this waist yarn off to find the point where I can unravel it like normal. But here it is.
So, as you guys saw in that last clip, I was able to finish the hat. I do have to sew these. Well, actually cut these off. They're already sewn in. So it is done. Let me just show it to you one more time off. This is what it looks like, and I made sure to knit the tube long enough so that way it is a double knit. And I'm actually going to be giving this away to my sister since she really likes the color purple. So this was just to test it out, but I do love the way that it turned out. I like the gauge. I like everything about it. So I am super excited to get working on a dress. That's not going to be happening in this video. This actually took a lot longer than I thought it would, just because this is my first time using the machine, so it's definitely a learning curve. But here it is, the completed beanie that we set out to make on the knitting machine, and I love it. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video. I hope you guys had fun making whatever you were making too. I do hope I can get this fast, or maybe not this fast, but a little faster with knitting by hand. But for right now, I'm gonna keep using that machine. I'm in love. So thanks for joining me in today's video. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and join me over on Instagram at chaoticcurl_crafts to see pictures of this beautiful beanie. I'll see you there. Bye.